Hi, Mark. Thank you so much for reaching out to us again. This is Cameron, and my wife Vanessa is here.
Yeah, hi, welcome back.
Yeah, we were really excited when we saw your name again. We were like, Mark Anthony! So if you hear some explosions in the background, our neighbors are celebrating New Year's in style. So
Happy New Year, by the way.
Happy New Year to you.
This is a fun time to do your reading.
Yeah, it really is. And thank you for your question. It was very earnest and honest. And I'm sorry that you're feeling that way, or that experience is happening to you right now with your friends. Friends should be kind of our safe space and our place that we can feel respite and just comfortable, and to feel kind of a sense of dishonesty among your ranks is, well, I'm sorry to hear that. But we're going to do this reading and see what that speaks of. And I am happy to say, or to hear, that you have found a new refuge and friendship in this person through gaming. So with that said, we're going to do the readings very similar to the one we did before with you, where we'll draw 3 cards. And for this one, let's do the first card as the anchor card. That will serve to represent the main theme of this reading, and then 2 supportive cards, just to get a really sense of what you are being guided to learn from this experience.
It just so happened that one jumped out as I was shuffling.
Always the best.
And this is the 5 of Wands.
Oh, that's so
Conflict
good.
among
Oh my
friends.
gosh, that's okay. You need to know, Mark, and you have to believe this, please. We do not hide cards away.
No, it actually fell on my
Yeah,
foot.
so that was a totally organic card. So that's
Looked out.
great. Well, there you go. There you have it. So that is the conflict card among fellows. You can imagine like there's like a group. These are people in the same village, the same company, the same, well, they're friends, they're brothers. They ought to be in accord with one another, but they're not. Beyond that interpretation, I don't have much to add because it's pretty straightforward. There's
I
a
think
conflict.
it serves as validation.
Yeah,
You
right,
know,
right.
that what you're feeling is correct and that they are being dishonest with you. So it's actually a gift to have that instinct. So this is your validation that it may be time to move on, or maybe you can even communicate with them a little bit differently, or bring up the elephant in the room, you know, and maybe just address it, you know, and just kind of get their response.
There is a great truth in this as well if you pay attention to the imagery of the cards, which is a little hard to see. But these individuals, they're not all attacking one person. They are in conflict with all of them. So in other interpretations, again, of this card, you see all of these guys are hitting one another. So maybe in this particular conflict, although you didn't specifically say, you might feel ganged up against, or like there's kind of a collaboration against you, or maybe, you know, kind of coming together against you. If you feel that, or if that is the theme of what's going on right now, I want to assure you, according to this card, there is conflict within. And usually that's one of the great themes of life I've learned, is if someone has the kind of spirit to do that to somebody, they're doing it to many others. They're even doing it to themselves. They are not at peace. To be dishonest with your friend, to be in discord with another, especially one that should be a friend, speaks of a person that's having conflict all around. So I really want to emphasize that, because sometimes when we feel betrayed, we feel like we're the only ones. Why is this happening to me? What is it about me that's causing that? And while there are truths in asking ourselves those questions to make sure that we're not ingratiating those problems into our lives, it's also good to know that it can be happening all around. It can just sort of be in the air. And so you're not alone. You're not being picked on. This is just a bad vibe going on. And I've been in those friendship groups before, by the way, even in my adult life, where just a bad energy got going on and people were backbiting or talking against each other, acting, you know, being two-faced. So I hope that instills a sense of peace, despite the fact that this is kind of a troublesome experience right now.
Yeah, it can be really difficult to be a type of sensitive or empathetic person to even pick up on that energy of dishonesty. But also remember, one thing my husband has taught me over the years is that the perpetrator of the conflict can only overcome you with your consent. So as long as you're not consenting, and that could be showing up for this person.
Yeah.
You know, that could be in the form of maybe returning their phone calls, or choosing not to return their phone calls, or just not giving in if you ever feel like maybe they're not speaking to you directly, but they're speaking of others and kind of involving you in that conflict in some way. Maybe it's indirect, maybe it is direct. Either way, you don't have to have any part in it. So you can choose to remove yourself from that conflict, if not even just for a time. Maybe everyone just needs to blow off some steam. You know, maybe this is, I'm getting that this is kind of the end of a cycle in a way, where there needs to be like a tension and release.
Yes.
And that is just kind of like the ebb and flow of life, where now that you've met this new friend, that's kind of the universe's way of guiding you in a different direction. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to detach yourself completely from these people, but just understand that we all go through different phases in life. And if you're feeling like there's more tension than there is release, then that is again a gift, you know, of discernment that maybe it's not serving you best right now.
Yeah. Anthony, one of the things that just came to my mind too, and was inspired by the fact that you said, although this is happening, you have, thanks to it, you have met somebody new through gaming. I love that, because one of the things I've discovered, especially in my adult life, is when, well, I'll just speak as a man, although maybe this is true as women too, when men are not actively engaged in a project together that has brought them together, they are prone to bickering and fighting and backbiting and all those negative things, because there's not enough busyness at hand. So one of the things I've made sure to do when I was, you know, kind of caught on to that, is I included myself into things that ingratiated friendships, but also kept one busy. The best thing I ever did with regards to friendship is I joined a fire department as a volunteer. Because you have that meditation and that practice of, you know, doing that work, right? That volunteer work, there isn't enough time to be catty, to be backbiting, to be whatever. You can be together, you can be friends, but you're always actively engaged. So the fact that you met somebody through an engagement, through an activity, shows that that's actually a great potentiality for a friendship. I think, you know, especially older people kind of have a negative view of like the gaming world and even the online world, because they say, well, that's, you know, that's easy to do, or that's not really a friendship. But in some ways I disagree. I understand what they're saying, but I also see it as an opportunity to align with someone who, you know, you get along with on a, you know, you're both arriving at a certain point because you have a particular interest. And so maybe there's not enough going on in your friend group to encourage those good virtues, so to speak, unless you're activity-based or doing something. You're just kind of drifting, to use one of my wife's words I really like. I hope that didn't go on too long. Do you have anything else to add?
No,
Okay.
I actually do. One thing that you inspired me to remember was, one of the best pieces of advice that I received was that people come into our lives for a reason, and that's usually a season, you know, where they're not meant to stay long term. And if you have any sense of attachment to these particular friends, that's based on history, that's based on a commonality you once had that you no longer have, understand that everybody grows up. We all have difference in interests, and the only ones who really need to comply and understand and forgive those changes are those who are married, essentially.
Yeah.
You know, those who enter into a relationship where that's something that you seek out intentionally. But with friendships, like, friends are your friends because they're easy, they understand you, they want to be there for you. And if there is a resistance there where you're feeling that you are not fulfilled within that friendship, and you're not benefiting from those qualities that friendships offer, then just something to keep in mind, just to have discernment. Like, why are they in your life? Why is that something that is coming around now where you're having this conflict? And maybe do some deep diving into the reason, if that reason isn't there, and if you're not a part of it, then that would be just a good opportunity for you to separate yourself just for a time, just to be able to clear your mind and maybe focus on these new potential relationships that you're building.
Yeah, wonderful.
Okay.
Okay, well, that's
card number
it.
2.
But it was the main card, so it's going to take a little bit.
Yes.
If you're still with us 10 minutes in.
Okay.
I know, these are
Wait,
hard
I'm
to see.
confused. These both look like the 5 of Wands. Is there an alternate?
5. Oh, it is. That is so funny.
What are the odds?
So, okay, so I just got this deck recently, and I really love this deck. It comes with 110 cards as opposed to this normal 78 in a tarot deck, because some are repeated, and you get to choose which one you want. Well, I just keep them all in the deck. So Vanessa chose another card, and it happens to be the very same twin of that card in the deck.
So that energy is strong.
Yeah,
that conflict energy.
Need we say more? Wow,
Yeah.
that's freaking weird.
That's
Sorry, we're okay. Yeah, here we go.
Okay,
Well,
well,
wonderful. Well, that's the
I
theme of
think
this
we
reading.
spoke enough on both cards thus far. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I feel like I'm along with on this ride. This is
Okay.
great. That's so funny.
The 3 of Pentacles.
Oh, that's a great card. It also speaks of a type of friendship too. It's hard to see in this deck, but in the typical Rider-Waite deck, what you have is you have a young man. He appears as an apprentice of sorts, and he's carving the walls of a cathedral, similar to this man who is carving this, beautiful statue. And in the background, he's accompanied by other men or friends, you could say, that are looking upon him in admiration. They are not friends in a sense in that they know one another, but rather they are fellow participants in the work. Again, in the traditional deck, you have the apprentice who's carving the statue or the walls of the cathedral, and then you have the clergyman next to him, and then next to that man you have the guy who's funding the operation. And each of their own accord are necessary elements in the completion of the cathedral. What is a cathedral without a priest? Where is the cathedral without the craftsman? And how is it even built without the financial support? In other words, going back to what I just said, people often come together not because they're buddies, but because they are on the same frequency. They have the same goal in mind. And the best type of relationships are relationships bound by the work. And I just really think that is the takeaway that, at least on my end, and then Vanessa will share, I want you to take away from this reading. To go out and start cultivating relationships that are tethered to the things that you value in life. And it sounds like from what you wrote us, you're already doing that. You found someone in the realm of gaming that apparently sounds like what you like to do, or an element of what you like to do. Brilliant. Go forward in that, and don't be afraid to relinquish old ties. And because often if we don't do that, we sacrifice the new tethers that are waiting there to pull us forward. So that would be my, and look, I mean, literally you have conflict on each side, and in the middle you have these people bound together by the work. So I won't ramble on.
I don't claim to understand men in any way, shape, or form. But
I don't understand.
From what I've gleaned from what my husband has taught me, and I'm really glad that you worded it this way. And now I forgot how you worded it, but it was really beautiful and it struck me when it came to just cultivating new relationships and letting go of old ties. The one thing I wanted to add with that, as much as I agree to it, is that once you do engage in a project and something that aligns with you and your truth and that you're passionate about, or maybe just following a type of impetus that you've always had that you were unable to express either within this friendship group, or maybe this group was hindering you in a way because you all had a type of lifestyle that you were participating in. I'm not exactly sure, but what I mean is when it comes to men and women, I believe it is really more important as we get older that we do engage in projects that align with us. And I believe that's like the magic of what draws in admiration for all of us. And I've noticed this more with men in general, where let's say you do start to really align with the things that bring you joy and fulfillment in life, and you separate yourself from just the typical habits that you've created in communication with these other friends, then it creates like a mystery to you, where if they're interested, if they are your friends, it's kind of like that concept, if you love something, let it go. You know, like friendship speaks of a type of love. And so if you can separate yourself and really create a world or a gravity to you, then you may find that they come in and they see you a little bit differently. It would change their perspective of really who you are, and maybe they'll realize, either whether consciously or subconsciously, that they were missing something about you that wasn't able to be shown in its truest form. Ergo, maybe they don't have that admiration for you right now that you're wishing they would have, or that would support a type of friendship that helps you feel supported and fulfilled. And that love that inspires you to continue on with that connection.
Yeah, that was beautiful. So I hope this reading was helpful for you, and we'll just end right there, because I feel like that last card said it all. And I'm grateful to hear that I'm happy to hear that you've already pursued the path that this reading is recommending. So thank you, Mark, for reaching out to us again, and for your trust and for your openness. And
thank you, Mark. Best of luck.
Yeah, we wish you a Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Bye-bye.